To unmute my mic. I always forget to unmute the mic. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. That was a video from Chow FPV. That was not me flying. Chow, terrific pilot. He is a member of my Patreon. He is on the Discord, and he's a mod over there. And I really liked that video of his because it reminds me a lot of my flight style. Chow and I share some similar feelings when it comes to that particular flight style. And yeah, I'm going to say he stole it from me. Chow, you stole that flight style from me. Chow's not in the chat right now, but I am posting a link to that video in case anybody wants to check it out or check the rest of his videos out. Chow is very good at tuning, and he's kind of my go-to resource when it comes to complex tuning questions. Anyway, welcome to the stream, everybody. I see a whole bunch of people in here already. It's great you're showing up. We're going to have some fun today, that's for sure. Let's see. Mystery. I see Mystery in here. Murders. Murders is a Quadmula pilot. We're going to be looking at Quadmula stuff today. Let's see. Who else? FPV Avery. Kriekos. Who else? Matty ORC, Bade, Morton Upshot. Morton Upshot is a winner of round 2 of the Season of Giving. I forgot what Morton won, but I know he won something because I recognize the name. Trey Cook's in here. What's up? I think Trey Cook. Yeah, I know Trey Cook. Who else? Focus, Nick FPV, Vitrifly, Zhang. What's up, buddy? Hey, if you haven't seen Vitrifly's new quad stand, he is an amazing 3D modeler, and he has come up with, in collaboration, I assume, I didn't ask any questions, with a Rotor Riot themed quad stand that's fully adjustable. It's an idea that I have had for the last month and have been working on modeling, and Vitrifly beat me to the punch, and now I don't think I can sell one because Vitrifly's is way better than mine is ever going to be. But anyway, yeah, if you haven't seen that, check out Vitrifly stuff. He also has some really sweet 3D modeled GoPro cases, and Vitrifly is also Quadmula guy, so he's chilling in here, I'm sure. Mo Blades, Justin Rao, nice to see all of y'all in here. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I don't think I did. Mystery did ask a question earlier if we're going to talk about the Grinderino, and we are going to talk about the Grinderino. We're going to talk about all kinds of things today. I am going to start working on this. This is the Quadmula. Let me just butcher the name up front. That way we can get it done. It's the Quadmula Djinn 2.5 inch. It's the Quadmula Djinn 2.5 inch. This is a split frame 2.5 inch quad for carrying the O3. And yeah, I think it's really cool to have the O3 capability in a 2.5 inch quad. I have a sneaking suspicion that O3 won't be the only thing with onboard 4K recording for too long, but it is right now, and this can carry it. So we're going to start building that out today. Yeah, no problem, Vitrifly. You deserve the shout out, man. You do some killer work, dude, for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and answer a question from Mystery. because he asked me about the Grinderino. So I went and got it. I can walk a little better this week, so I actually went over and got my Grinderino. He was asking me about the Argus F7 AIO that is in my Grinderino. Now, Mystery, if you're going to buy this, some recommendations. Let me see if I can show it to you on camera. Let me change my camera view so that maybe I can display this a little bit better. Let's see here. That. Oh, no, I actually found a better view. I'm going to hide myself under your comment, Mystery. But okay, so the Argus is in this thing. You can see here that is my capacitor. And the reason that is my capacitor is because there's no friggin' room to put it, because you see the VTX right behind it. There's zero room between the VTX and the back of the Argus. In fact, the VTX is about 4 millimeters in the frame on this side. And on the exact other side, it is not hardly at all tucked into the frame. You see how flush it is on this side? And that is because I had to spend forever, literally forever, cramming it into this. I do not recommend that you do that unless you really know that's what you want. The Argus stack, the AIO, is a very, very good flight controller. I am loving it so far. The build is rough with this. This frame is really, it likes a 20 by 20 regular stack much better than a 25 by 25 stack, unless you're going to stack the VTX on top of the AIO, which you totally can do if you want to do that. If you're doing something like Walk Snail, most of the other ones, you're not going to fit a Vista on top of it, obviously. And you're not going to fit this full-size HD0 V2 on it. So you just got to consider that it is a terrific stack. But if I was going to do it again with something else, I probably would put the SpeedyBee F405 Mini in there and call it a day. I do like the F7. I do like this full aluminum clad, and that's why I went for it. I picked these components just because I wanted to beat the ever-living crap out of them, and I'll be able to beat the ever-living crap out of them because they are clad in all aluminum. So if that's your goal too, then it makes sense to do. If it's not, there are easier ways, but it is a very good stack. So I cannot complain about that at all. All right, let's see. Getting back down to the more recent comments here. Trey Cook, my Quadmula is stuck on a roof and couldn't get it yesterday. Ladder wasn't tall enough. Going back today with a rope. It's worth going and getting it, man, instead of having to buy more stuff. I really wanted to invest in one of those quad saver poles, the big, huge fiberglass pole thing. I just have not. But I have gotten my quad out of trees and roofs a whole lot with a fishing magnet. So like a big, big magnet and a long rope, and I just toss it on whatever and yank on it till it comes out. And it takes like 30 minutes, and it's a waste of time, but I usually get the quad back. I have not lost one yet in a lot of trees and roofs. So it does work. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper, what is up? Victor Fly, yeah, you weren't here last week. I designed those. It's a fist for punching on top of your Grinderino. They're a little big. I have to do them again in Blender. I am not as much of a Blender pro as you are, my friend. So I have to redo them again, but I've got some better ideas this time about how I want to do it. But yeah, fist for punching, buddy. You got to have it on the end of a quad like this. Yeah, Focus. I did those motor guards. Those are mine. And I've decided I'm going to make STLs for this stuff. I'm going to take the time to design it. I'm going to make cool STLs. I am probably going to sell them though, because it does take a lot of time. Now, by sell them, I mean for like $2. I'm not going to make a lot of money on it, but it would help subsidize some of the expense for the channel. This stuff costs a whole lot of money, and I don't really get any money from any vendors. The patrons help a ton, and all kinds of other things help a ton, but it still winds up costing a whole lot of money just to buy parts to finish out a build. Like this Djinn build, I got the frame from Quadmula. They sent this to me. I don't have an O3 for it. I don't have a stack for it. I don't have motors for it. I have to source all of that part myself. So just to show you this frame, I've got to spend $400. That's how it goes on this end of the camera. But yeah, so I'm probably going to sell the STLs when I get done with them. Victorfly gave me that idea because he's really good at it and he deserves to be paid. What's up, William Tam? Chow made it. Chow, you missed your video. I showed your video at the beginning. It was very, very good. I loved that video. I want to come fly with you, buddy. Mystery asks if he'll be fine buying the naked version. I use it for my 3 freestyle frame build. It's definitely going to fit. I'm not sure if it's a good AIO for that price. Also, since it's new, it is a good AIO. I'm not going to knock it for the AIO. Specifically the Grinderino build, it's just a little bit tight. But yeah, it's a great AIO. I had no problems with it. It works very well. I wish it had more BECs on board because it only has a 5-volt BEC in the back. But other than that, terrific build. I like it with the aluminum. You could run it naked. You really could, but I like it with the aluminum. Victorfly just built his 2.5 and he has a normal Vista in it. I thought about, so Victorfly, you've already built it. I haven't even gotten mine out of the tube yet. Mine came late. You guys, like you, Victorfly and Murders get their stuff super early. Mine, I'm not a sponsored pilot from Quadmula, but they like me for some reason, so they send me these things. I am wondering if I can cram walk snail in it. And I'm not talking miniature walk snail. I'm talking about full-size walk snail. I'm wondering. So Victorfly, tell me if I can do it. Yeah, Matty O, paint extension pole absolutely works. It is not as quad made as the Quad Saver, but it's basically the same thing, right? Focus, thank you for a $5 super chat. I very much appreciate it. And I appreciate the emoji. I love a good emoji. I spend a lot of time on YouTube replying with emojis. What's up, Joseph? I smell bacon, he says. Yeah, he needs to build. You do need to build a 2.5, buddy. I've got a couple of 2-inch quads, and I've got 3 and 3.5. But 2.5 is this weird zone of quad that I have yet to really own a lot of. I do have, I think I don't remember if this is the Emax Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle. I don't know if that's 2.5 inch. I want to say it is. I've done a lot of things to this. Like I have a full-size antenna on the bottom here. You can see it's still FR Sky though. This is my son is going to get this quad because he can beat the shit out of it and I won't care. That's my plan for that quad. Ryan, no, this is not my full-time job. I am a professional nerd during the day. That's what I do. I'm an IT guy. I'm a senior engineer, director of technology. I don't really know what I do during the day, but it's something with computers and data centers and networks and things. And I head up a team of engineers to work on things and tell them how to work on things. That's what I do as my day job. I wish I could do FPV as a day job. Unfortunately, it is not a very lucrative day job unless you were just an amazing pilot with a lot of opportunity to do things like movies. Like Alex Vanover. I wish I had that kind of opportunity. He has amazing skills. He's still very young, and he just met the right people at the right time and was able to put his balls on the table. He's so good. They hired him for things. That is amazing. I would love to be able to make something like that a career. I found this way too late in life. I already had a family. It's really hard to change all those things once you kind of settled into having a family and having to take care of everybody. So I would love to, but unfortunately, no. Victor Fly, those prints take forever to make, but it's worth it. Yeah, they do. I've got to learn more about Blender. I'm spending a lot of time with Blender. Yeah. Oh, focus. Super chat text didn't show up. What did you mean to say? I was asking how your son's flying is going. -4 and just got him on the Mob 6 in level mode with some cheapy goggles. Good plan with the cheapy goggles, buddy. My son is doing really well. He can fly in acro. He is 5, so he's got a little bit of time on your boy. He's almost 6. He'll be 6 early next year. He can fly an acro in the simulator just fine. Dude can do flips, rolls. He can almost do an inverted yaw spin as well as his daddy. He is amazingly good, and he spends a lot of time in the sim. When it comes to real-life flying, I have a set of EV800 DM goggles for him. Oh, no, actually, he is flying the Beta FPV Cetus goggles. That's what he's using right now, and he has my TX12 radio. And what I did, you'll notice, well, you might not have noticed, I made a video on my channel where I took my radio and put an ELRS receiver inside of it, and then use that to be a master jack for his radio. So he has ELRS on his radio. His ELRS connects to my controller via an ELRS receiver. And inside of my receiver, I connect to my quad. So I can manage the sticks for him. It works out really, really well. He has a hard time with bouncing off the ground. Once he starts bouncing on the ground, he really doesn't know what to do yet. But if he's in the air, he's fine. He can fly. So it just takes time and practice, but it's the coordination at being 4 and 5 years old is really hard, but it's great that they start this early for sure. Apache, how's my knee feeling? He says, my knee, it's feeling a little better. I have my MRI in November. They made me wait a long time. It's like the second week of November, I'll have the MRI. I am limping around a lot. I can't kneel on anything. If I put any weight on the knee that's not from my foot, I will immediately burst out into a scream. But that's about the worst of it right now. So Murder says the OG walk snail's too big. Yeah, I thought it was going to be. Don't disappoint me, Murder. Don't do it. Joseph, you haven't opened up your Djinn tube yet, man. You got to open it up. You got to get the Djinn out of the bottle. If you keep a Djinn in a bottle too long, it loses its granting capabilities. So, yeah. Kurakos, I wonder if it'll fly nice because the weight compared to the 3-inch. Yeah, so it's quite a bit of weight for a 2.5-inch disc size, and that's the thing I worry about too. But having experienced the 3-inch in the Quadmula, because I do have the 3-inch, I have like all of the sizes of the Quadmula frames. I will say that if you are willing to go with steeper props or more KV and adjust the size of your battery, as long as you don't want to achieve something like a 7-minute flight time, you can fly amazingly on that stuff. There is absolutely a combination to make it work, but you will likely not be able to fly over 3 minutes of hard flight. For me, even on my big quads, so a 620-ish gram 5-inch quad with 6S, I will burn an entire pack in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And that's a 1,300 mAh pack, a big pack. If I put an 1,100 mAh pack on it, it's about 2.5 minutes. So that's just the way I fly, and I will burn a whole pack down on the 3-inch in less than 3 minutes. Just under 3 minutes on a high KV one, even if it's heavy, but it will fly great the whole time for sure. Vitrifly, helpful tip when building the 2.5-inch, make sure your motor has a 9x9 base. Messed up, I got 10x10. 10x10 is a really weird motor size. What kind of motor did you get with a 10x10 foot? I can only use 2 front holes in the arm. The back arms are only 9x9, so I can't use it. Okay, yeah, I have 9x9s. I have some 1404s. I really wanted to put 1604s in, but all of the 1604s I have a 5mm shaft. And unfortunately, in a 2.5-inch prop, 1604s and a 5mm shaft, there are no props. And if you do find a prop, your motor bell is going to take up most of the prop. So yeah, I don't have any, but I'm probably gonna run some T-Motor 1404s. Is probably what I'm gonna go with. Neil, have you got the HD01 watt, the new one? Yeah, it's in this quad right here. It's hanging out in the back of my Grinderino right now. I did a review on it the other day. I have been screwing with it a whole lot. I really, really like it. It is nice that it is the size of the Vista, and I wish it had been that way all along because it was so hard to put the Freestyle V1 VTX in anything. It was a mess. A mess. Chow, I'd like to see a comparison between the Holodonata and the Djinn, by the way. I'm trying to see if Graphic Quads will send me his build for tuning. I can't be bothered to afford to build one. You build all kinds of things. You can't be bothered to afford to build one. I saw your last motor order, Chow. Don't tell me you can't afford to build one. No, I get it, though. I would love Graphic Quads to send me one of those, and I would absolutely do it. I would yank the parts off of my Djinn and put it right on the Hodonata and see. So, yeah, if he wants to do that, I'll totally do it. All right. Oh, Victorfly, you're going to do Blender tutorials on private Discord for patron members? I got to be on your... Am I not on your Patreon, man? So, like, on my Patreon, I trimmed down a bunch of it because I was flat broke most of last year. So I had to unsub from a lot of Patreon. But if you're doing that, I'm totally going to have to get on your Patreon because I want you to teach me. I want you to teach me the ways, Victorfly. Murders. I do the extremely hard way of doing things in Blender. So if you think, okay, I don't know what you mean by extremely hard way, but I'll tell you what I did originally for these. I took the model that I had, basically, I modified the fist from somebody else. I did not draw this fist. I modified the fist for my purposes, but I took it into Blender, and in edit mode, I just deleted faces and then started sculpting. And then I realized about an hour into it, that is obviously not the way you should be doing things. So I did it a whole different way. I actually went and designed those in Onshape. I didn't use Blender for those because I'm still learning Blender, but I did use Onshape for that, and I made the antenna holder in Onshape too, which is just simple. But I had to do it custom because the VTX, there was not a lot of room. Like it touches the standoffs or just barely. It has like 0.5 millimeter in there. Or less. So I had to make something that would just connect to the top, and I went under the bottom plate for it down here. So I had to custom make my own, but that took like 15 minutes and Onshape. Free range chicken, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Howdy all and Bacon Ninja. I appreciate using howdy as a Texan That really tickles my fancy, buddy. It tickles it real good. Real good. FPV Avery. I ended up taping together 3 of the extending paint poles once. You know you've done something wrong when you are taping paint poles together. Your day has gone real bad. Real bad. Joseph, y'all professional and shit. I'm still using Tinkercad. Hey man, there's nothing wrong with Tinkercad. Nothing wrong with it at all. I redesigned the arms the first time in Tinkercad. I did it completely in Tinkercad. And it was not until I started watching Blender videos that I realized I can do the exact same thing in Blender with cutouts and other shapes. Nobody ever told me. So I'm going to have to get in Victorfly's Patreon so he can teach me how to do that crap. Oh, Ryan, you're feeling pretty down. None of my quads are up and have no motivation to fix them. I haven't been able to get a quad running in a month. I'm sorry, buddy. That is tough. That's never fun. Fortunately and unfortunately at the same time, I have a huge fleet of quads. A lot of it is because it's been provided to me and all the parts inside of them I had to buy, but a lot of frames have been provided to me. And if it wasn't for that, I'd be in the same boat, man. When you don't have a huge fleet, it's really hard to have your whole fleet wipe and then have to rework on it. But there is hope. If you have something really hard to fix, I am going to start a series called Fix My Effing Quad, where you can send me a quad and I will fix it on my dime. You just pay the shipping. I'll fix it on my dime. And if I can't fix it, I'll put new parts in it until it is fixed. But it's got to be a really tough problem. It's something that I want to show people how to troubleshoot through the troubleshooting process. I already have one quad in for it, and that's going to start pretty soon. And by pretty soon, I mean in a few weeks. But if you've got something really bad with your quads, hit me up on Discord, and we can talk about what your problem is. And if it's one of those that I think would be great for a troubleshooting opportunity for others, I might just take you up on it. So it's going to take me a while, though, so don't expect to get your quad back for a couple months, but I will totally fix it. Chris Croft. I read the name as DJI in. We're getting in DJI. We're infiltrating the DJI ecosystem with a Quadmula frame. Brandon Beans, I need a 7-minute flight time for flying cinematic. That's totally, yeah, you can totally do that. And so we were talking about really heavy quads in flight time, especially on 3-inch props. My 3-inch quad will fly for, I forgot how many minutes it is now. I want to say I flew for like 11 minutes. It was over 10. I know it was over 10 and it was under 15, somewhere in there, on a 1300 mAh 6S carried by a 3-inch prop quad. So I have the flight time too. I just have to put a different pack on it. I'm all my chats just totally glitched out on me. Let's see if I can find where I was. I'm gonna miss so many because it just glitched out and went to the bottom. Okay, well I'll just leave it at the bottom because we got to open up a Djinn. We got to get this genie straight out the bottle. Neil, can you fix 2 ELRS dual diversity receivers and make a TX Gemini? Can you fix 2 ELRS? Oh, like make it a TX Gemini with 2 dual diversity receivers? I don't know. It's basically the same hardware, just on a different chip. But it's probably controlled by a single chip in the Gemini. I have not got to touch the Gemini system. Nobody has sent me any of it, and I have no funds to buy one. So, yeah, I haven't touched the Gemini yet. Honestly, I don't think a lot of people need Gemini unless you're flying kilometers and kilometers. It's a lot of headache for not a lot of gain compared to what you get off of ELRS already. So I don't know that I have a lot of great things to say about Gemini, but FL engineer, give me a week. I'll break something for you. I don't mean like a broken arm. Break it badly. Run over it with a car or some crap. No, like the one I have right now that I'm fixing for the first one in the series, I cannot name names as to who it is. Even though I may have previously named this name, I will redact all of that information as of right now. It flips over backwards every time he takes off, but not when he takes off, when he's in the air. So he's already in the air with it, and it flips over backwards, comes and finds him and tries to cut his face. And the quad previously flew fine. So we don't know what's happened to it, but I'm going to start out with mechanical issues, which I think is a good opportunity to show people how to troubleshoot mechanical issues. Spido, what's your thoughts on SpeedyBee F405 V3? My thoughts on it right now is that you should buy the V4. That's my thoughts on it. The 405 V3 is a great flight controller. When it came out, we were on BetaFlight 4.2. And in BetaFlight 4.2, the black box logging worked and the OSD at the same time. Betaflight 4.3 came out and 4.4 subsequently. It broke the ability to also use OSD and black box at the same time when the manufacturer had used the same pin on the processor for both chips. Because previous to 4.3, you could do that. In 4.3, they broke that functionality for good reason because they wanted to add HD fonts and HD OSD, so they broke that. But the V4 fixes it. And it's a $70 stack. So if you can get the V4 for a couple dollars more than the V3, I'd recommend the V4. The ESC as well on the V4 has thicker copper clad and other things that you will probably want to keep your SpeedyBee stack running longer. So I'd recommend the V4 over the V3 if you can. But if you find the V3 for like $40 for the stack, then I mean you can't argue. Just don't expect to use black box because it ain't gonna work. Either pick OSD or black box, but not both. But if you want everything, get a V4. So, oh, I hit one. Let's see. Nerma. After a few flights with the drone, the first crash came. How will I know if the battery is still good and won't catch fire in my house? Because from the outside, there doesn't seem to be any damage. So when you crash a Lipo for the first time and you haven't been around Lipos very long, which it sounds like that's the case for you, it is a little nerve-wracking because they're in soft cases most of the time. So you think, this flame ball here is really easy to break, and every time I barely tap it with anything, I'm going to catch the world on fire. And that's not an inaccurate thought. Sometimes they catch on fire for just you looking at them wrong. What I will say, though, is that usually for a pack to catch fire, and I don't have any of my packs. I do have a pack, actually. This is a 4S pack. This 4S pack here is a soft wrap, right? You can see, and I'll show it to you on camera, that it is not damaged in any way, right? But let's say that I scuffed up one of these cells right here. Like I hit it just right and I hit it on the corner and I scuffed it up and there was some road rash on it. What you'd want to make sure of is that it doesn't smell. So you'd smell it. And if it doesn't smell sweet, then you're not leaking electrolyte. And that is what causes fires from damage. The other thing that causes fires from damage is the cells being compressed. So there's little layers of plastic in these things and there's small wafers of carbon dust and some other stuff in here. And the layers of plastic, the anode and the cathode, are coated in certain things. And if they touch each other, they make a short. So if it's compressed too hard, it makes a short. Usually, you will find that when you charge it, you'll plug this balance lead in and you'll charge your pack. And when you do, your charger will complain at you if you have a good charger. And that's why having a good charger like a Hoda D6 is important, because if it detects any weirdness in the resistance of this pack, the voltage coming out of the cells, any of that, it will just stop charging that cell. It will just stop charging it and it will go to zero and your pack will be dead. But it will not catch your house on fire. If you have a lot of road rash, smell it and see, and then put it on the charger and keep an eye on it. Always watch it to the first charge if you're suspect at all. But if you're worried about it, just throw it out. But it sounds like yours actually isn't damaged at all. Just crashing it is fine. Unless you see physical signs of damage, just charge it and be cautious. Keep an eye on it. Make sure it's not out of your sight. Keep an eye on the voltages going to the cells. If you see 4 of the 5, or 5, let's see, let's say it's a 4S. 3 of the 4 cells are at 4 volts and 1 cell is at 2 volts. The pack is not doing well. You want to pull that off. You want to discharge it and kill it. But if they're all up at 4 volts within a couple of 0.1 volts of each other, then you're fine. If it doesn't smell sweet, you're not leaking electrolyte. And if there's no road rash, you're probably fine too. So that's some basic, I know it took a minute, that's some basic rundown of how to know if you've screwed one up beyond repair. So yeah. Spido OP. I'm new to this hobby and confused about Lipo. Yeah. It's followed up with, can I use a 4S Lipo, 1500 milliamp hours, ADC on my 4S build? You absolutely can. That's a fairly standard size Lipo. I'm guessing you have a 5-inch build. If you have a 5-inch build, a 1500 milliamp hour ADC pack is sufficient for what you will be doing. 100C pack is better because that means it can provide more current at once. But as you get into Lipos, you learn that the C rating is kind of a lie anyway, and the manufacturers put whatever they want on there. So even if it could provide more current, it might not, or an ADC pack might provide more than a 120. So a 1500 milliamp hour ADC is perfectly good. I would go for that pack as long as you can get it for a reasonable price. So yeah, and you did say it's a 5-inch, so great. Yes. All right, we're going to crack this Djinn open. I have been ranting for 30 minutes of nonstop randomness. So let's crack this Djinn open. I figured out how to do the proper split screen. Yeah. All these live streams, I'm learning how to do things. Quadmula. and they're really awesome containers. I love their containers. Yes, they are economically wasteful, but they are awesome because you can reuse them. I reuse them a lot. All right, let's get all the bubble wrap out. We're done with the containers. What I do with these is I use them for spare parts and spare arms and things. So I do keep them, but don't ever throw them away. And then you get a whole bunch of stuff. And bubble wrap. Bubble wrap's the best part. Let's do this ASMR right here. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. That's the best part of the package. Okay, I love how Quadmula updated their straps. Whoever gave them that feedback, thank you. I did not like their original straps. These straps are a jillion times better. They wrap all of their frame components in this white stuffy stuff, and then the rest of it is in baggy bags. And you get a capacitor and a print for holding your capacitor and some wire. That's nice. It's nice they gave me the wire. They know it's going to happen. They know I'm going to relocate this cap. This one specifically is built for O3, so you get the O3 mounting plates. Really nice. And this green they print in, their prints are always really clean and nice. And they do these press, I don't know if you can see it. They do these press nuts into their TPU so that you don't ever crush the TPU with your screw. And you can provide even pressure on the TPU without having it compress the head of the screw onto the TPU and flare out over time. But anyway, let's get the carbon out because that's the exciting part. I like their prints. They're good at printing, but let's get the exciting stuff out. And it almost feels like opening a DJI product with all the way they wrap things. It's similar to exactly how. It is exactly how DJI wraps their components. And as you can see, we have 3 plates because this is a split deck. This one will be the keyway or the puzzle piece, I like to call them, for the arm interlocks. And this is what they call the C-channel arm interlock because it makes a C shape. But that's going to be the hardest part. If you've never built a Quadmula frame, that is the toughest part of the build. While I'm opening this up, pop a bonus. My naked GoPro on 5-inch Titan XL has a lot of vibrations on my video that Gyroflow can't get rid of. What's the best filament to print these GoPro mounts with? Everybody really recommends 95A TPU. So if you find a shore hardness of 95A, that is what you will want. Now, having said that, there are a lot of different ways to do it. You can do it in straight TPU, and then you can also do it in TPU with special made dampeners into the way the GoPro connects to the quad. So it depends on if you're using a GoPro screw, if you're using one of the screw mounts, or if you're having a TPU mount that mounts directly to your top plate. What I've done a lot is I have redesigned the block between the top plate interface and the GoPro, and I put holes or hex cutouts or other things to soften that so that it dampens the vibration a little more. It's not as good for your tune because it will make the camera wobble, but it does help. As far as vibration in your GoPro, though, you can really get most of that out with a good tune. Now, I don't know if you bought that as a bind and fly or not, but usually I don't have enough vibration in my GoPro on a build to need to do that. So there may be something else going on. But if you need to print something, 95A TPU is good. Make sure you print it at the right temperature and you dry it first. If you don't dry it first, it's going to be a flippity-floppity, bubbly, spitty mess. And it will not be nearly as strong as dried 95A is. So make sure your filament is good and dry and that you print it at the right temperature, at the right speed that is recommended, and you will be okay. But 95A, that's what I'd go with. There's a fly in here. There was a bird in my garage earlier. I had to chase that sucker out. I don't know how it got in here or why it would want to be in here. Spido asked, can I use my phone instead of a GoPro? You totally can. I don't know if your phone's manufacturer will validate your warranty. That's going to be your issue. Okay. So we have this will be the mid plate. So this is the plate on which all of your components sit. This will be the bottom plate, which is the plate on which the camera sits. And then we have the top plate, 4 arms, and the keyway. The hardest part after doing this is finding the screws. But Quadmula makes it a little easier because they take the time to, you can't see that, can you? Let me back up. Can you see? Tag every bag with the parts instead of making you freaking guess. Why would I want to guess what the hell I'm using? Let's just put the name of the thing on here. Look, bottom plate screw. It's almost like they're trying to tell me it's the bottom plate screw, because they are. Stack screws, motor screws. We're going to set those aside. This is the camera plate. They give you two sets of screw packs. They give you two of these for the stack, and it has the rubber. We'll go over the rubber tubing here in a minute. But it has the stack and the end caps and the isolators and things, which is important to use. So it's nice they give you two because they expect that you might lose some. Top plate screw we don't need right now. O3 mount screw we don't need right now. So we've got bottom plate screws, we've got standoffs, and we've got stack screws. So we're going to get the stack screws out first because this is how you get your keyway on. What's up, Booster? Just in time. Indeed you are, buddy. What's up, Fun Per Volt? Can I get a channel? I know how to say your name this week. You're very welcome. I appreciate you being here. He said he appreciated me. I appreciate you too. I like hanging out. And I ruined your name last week. My wife didn't let me live it down all week long. She kept giving me crap about it because I could not figure out how to pronounce your name. Anyway, let's see here. We are going to put the keyway in. There we go. So it's going to go like this. We're going to bottom plate, keyway, mid plate, right? And you'll notice that the keyway, there are holes through the bottom plate that align with the keyway. So you don't have to have the screws from the bottom plate all the way into the mid plate to get this started. So the easiest way is to just start your M2 screws by hand. They don't have to be, super cray. You don't have to crank them down. It's not crank down time. It's just time to get them started. And we're going to leave them fairly loose. Because if you've ever built a Quadmula frame before, they use really tight manufacturing tolerances, which is good because as it wears, it means it's going to wear into normal manufacturing tolerances. So a lot of people have a hard time getting their arms and things on, but it's because they're expecting to be putting together an inferiorly cut product and that doesn't have a tight manufacturing tolerance. So I'm going to tighten these up with a screwdriver now, and I'm going to leave them, I don't know, a couple millimeters away from being tight, just because we want that plate to flop around a little bit so that we have room to wiggle our arms in. What's up, Al Mac, AJ SR71, CPTGG, Gus? What's up? I have a hard time with everybody's names being different on YouTube than Discord. Like if you're in my Discord and you leave me a YouTube comment, just a handy thing. If you will just tell me your Discord name so I can put some context around who said it, because I probably know you really well in Discord and probably don't have any idea what your YouTube name is, unless it happens to be the same. Because it might be. Some people's are the same. Some people's are not. All right, we've almost got this in. And like I said, we're not going to tighten them down. I'll show you how loose it is because we are going to leave it flippy and floppy. It can totally move down there. There is an air gap. You can see it. You can see the gap there. Because that's how we're going to get our arms on. So the next thing you do is you take your bottom plate and you align the screws you just put in. Notice how the heads of the screws are coming out of the holes on the bottom plate now. And what I like to do next is put a screw for these arms. It's a 2-screw pattern, inner and outer. I like to put a screw in the inner, but loosely, before I start wiggling my arms in there. Can I get a channel? Oh, can I get a username? Is your username in the Discord? Can I get a channel? Nice. Consistent. I like it. Also, other thing to note, there are 2 size screws for the plate. There is a big one and a small one, and then there is a cap screw. I don't know what the cap screw is for yet. I'm guessing that's going to be for, there's 4 of them, so probably some standoffs at some point here in the near future. But the small screws are the ones that go toward the inner. So I do know that. Let me get my other screwdriver out. Curtis Hayes, what's up? McShaky, you were a winner of round 1, weren't you? McShaky? I remember your name on my emails. I know you as McShaky pretty well. Round 1 was a nightmare, man. I'm still not done shipping round 1 winners. It's been just super insane. Spido OP, is there any ESC issues on the SpeedyBee F405 V3? I mean, technically, no. There's no like design flaws. It's just a lower amp rating, and the sustained burst is lower. So I mean, it's just not a premium ESC. But no, there's not any problems. There's not like a design issue with it. Now we got to figure out which way the arms go. Do they go like this or do they go like this? I can never remember. I want to say, because Quadmula is going for the O3 not being in view, that the arms are going to go like that. So they stick back further, because if you did them like this, they're going to stick out. But I don't remember. I'm going to shove one in. Let's see what happens. See what happens when I shove one of these suckers right on in. Yeah. There we go. I need to loosen my screws a bit. Ugh. All right. Papa Bonus says, besides being a YouTuber, building up quad collection is kind of a byproduct of what you do. But if you had to lock down a set number of quads, which would be my quads of choice? At the moment, I really like my 3.5 inch quads. Like, I'm super into them. My 5-inch quads are incredibly jealous. So I would pick probably 2 identical 3.5 inch quads, and I may have 2 identical 5-inch quads, and I'd have spare parts for them, because that would be how I'd roll. But yeah, you really only need 2 and spare parts, and the time and willingness to fix them, honestly. Oh yeah, Curtis Hayes won the Cetus X. That is right. Okay, so because I have already installed my inner screws and I've already installed my puzzle piece, this lines up literally perfectly with these arm screws. Now, these arm screws on the outer are going to be long, because that is where a standoff is going to go. So I'm just going to push them in. Remember, I have not tightened the puzzle piece screws, the interlock screws, because once I do that, it will be very hard to get the arms in. So I have the puzzle piece loose, and I have these screws just barely in on the inners so that I can slide the arms in. Kirikos, new to the hobby, but I really think for freestyle, at least 3.5 inches more than enough. Yeah, I mean, you could do a lot with a 3 or 3.5 inch quad. With the stuff that is available now, you can do a whole lot. They can fly amazingly. It used to not be the case. A lot of them flew kind of meh. But, 3.5 inch quads now, with the components we put in them today and the video system availability, yeah, they're not so meh anymore. So on the rears, because I already have my screws in the front, on the rears, it was kind of a fight. But if you push on them enough, you get this notch over that screw to a point where it works. And it is tight. But like I said, Quadmula wants them to be tight because they want you to wear them into a reasonable tolerance. For sure. All right, now I'm going to push these longer screws into the back. And that's where you're going to struggle, is getting these long screws into the back through the arms. Sometimes you got to wiggle them, and sometimes you got to get your driver out and drive them in, which I think I'm going to have to do. Yeah, I'll have to drive them in. So they won't go in past that. They're stuck in. They're stuck in about that far out. So I'm going to get the screwdriver out, and we're going to tighten them. And when I do that, I'm going to read some stuff. I'm going to read some things. Can I get a channel never flown ducted? Yeah, never flown ducted. Well, it's different. Ducted quads fly different, not as well, in fact. So if you're flying a ducted quad, you will notice that it does not fly as well. I'm about to do a review on a ducted quad. So I fly 3.5 inch quads, and I'm going to do a review on a ducted 3.5 inch quad pretty soon here, and you will see exactly how it flies and why a ducted quad is really more for cinematic use. Yes, you can freestyle it. Yes, I did put it in inverted yaw spins. It will do it. But should you? Probably not. Probably not with a ducted quad. All right. I've just about got these done. And what I'm going to do is, because I have all of these screws in, all 4 of these on the outside are in tightly. They are the ones that stick through the frame. The ones on the inners, they are not tight yet. And that's because I have not tightened the puzzle pieces. You want to always make sure that you tighten the puzzle piece screws before you tighten the inner screws on a Quadmula frame, because that puzzle piece needs to be seated all the way up to the mid plate before you tighten those inner screws, or else it cannot make its way up there. And if it doesn't make its way up there, you will have resonance problems. The majority of people I've seen have resonance problems out of a QM frame is because they didn't do it in this order. So, yeah. So, yeah, I've tightened those. Those are all the way in now. They are very tight. I'm going to take a look at it and make sure that I don't see any gaps, and I don't see any gaps. So now that we have those all the way tight, we know our puzzle piece is seated all the way to the mid plate, and I'm going to tighten my inner bottom plate screws. And I'm going to tighten them in a clockwise fashion, and then I'm going to go back and retighten everything diagonally. Booster, what flight controller and ESC am I going with? Because I have it on hand, I'll probably put a SpeedyBee F405 Mini in this, just because I have it on hand. I'm not sure what video system I'm going to go with yet, because I don't want to spend any money on a DJI Air Unit. I just don't want to buy them anymore. They're too expensive. But I probably will have a SpeedyBee F405 Mini in this one, the 20x20 double stack. Let's see. Can I get a channel? Ciati had some really fun indoor footage. Yeah, you can have. Ciati's a really good pilot, and he can definitely have some indoor fun with his piloting skills. I haven't flown indoors in a while. I have dogs and kids, and I don't want to get quads in hair, so I tend to not. I'm going to put the standoffs on now. These are the chunky standoffs. There are two sizes. The bigger standoff goes on the outer arm screw, and the smaller diameter standoffs go on the cam plate. And they will also, there's two sizes of them. The longer ones go on the cam plate, and the shorter ones go back here for the rear mounting. So I'm going to put the big ones on these screws. Victorfly, you're running a 25x25 with a conversion print. Do you like it? Does it get in the way of the VTX at all with the 25x25 being diamond? Because there would be a lot of extra room if I did that on this, for sure. Can I get a channel? That's what's going to cause me to move to Whoops. Christmas footage. Christmas trees, man. All the Christmas lights. Hey, you know who has really good Christmas light footage? I don't know if Murders is still in here. I hadn't seen him in a minute. It's been a while, but he used to do these like Christmas light flights outdoors, and they were always awesome. I always loved those when he did them. I don't know if he did any last year. I don't remember, but I know that he has some on his channel. And I'd love to do that too, except for nobody ever puts up nice lights where I live because nothing's pretty. So we don't put stuff up on not pretty things. Rick at night. Untangling a whoop from your hair sucks. Ask me how I know. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't got to tell me about that, buddy. I know. All right. So now I'm going to put the front and rear standoffs on. Like I said, there are two sizes of standoff. So I'm going to put the shorter ones in the back and the longer ones in the front. And I like to do that by putting the screw in the hole first. It is always simpler to put the screw in the hole first and then hold your standoff and spin it on with your fingers and then tighten it up with the driver. Spido, your budget build is awesome, dude. Thanks, man. I need to update it. I would put the SpeedyBee F405 V4 in there now. I would totally do that instead of the V3. I'm probably going to do a 2024 budget build series just to update it a little bit, give people a new CLI dump, that kind of stuff. Anybody that happens to stumble across it will hopefully get more updated stuff than, this stuff. Everything we do in FPV is basically outdated in 6 months. So every video I make is basically outdated in 6 months. Yeah, Victorfly, you go do that with him. Go get some Christmas footage, man. It's awesome. I want to see you do it too. I want to see you zang in the dark over Christmas lights. Please, please do this for me. I want it so. I want so much of this. Look, that's all it took. We have a Djinn. We have a Djinn on the floor. Well, it's not the floor. It's a table. So now I'm going to put the top plate on. But before I put the top plate on, let's get back to just hanging out, checking out some comments, and answering some questions if you have any, because that took a lot less time than I thought it would. But I have built a lot of Quadmula frames, and I know exactly how to get it done. And I can tell you the first time you do it, will not be that simple. So every Quadmula frame that is a split deck goes together just like I showed you. Loosen the puzzle piece with the M2 screws, put it on, leave like a millimeter gap in your puzzle piece, put your inside arm screws in loosely, very loosely, slide the arms into place, jam them in until the hole lines up. Then slide your outer screw in on all 4 arms, then tighten your puzzle piece within an inch of its life, and then tighten your inner screws, tighten your outer screws, put your standoffs on, and you will have a much easier time building Quadmula frames. For sure. Because I get a lot of questions on Discord about why things are tight. People seem to not like it tight, man. I thought everyone liked it tight. Apparently people don't. And if you're one of those hot dog in a hallway people, Quadmula frames are not cut that way. So everybody has their preferences. And Quadmula's is that. Rick at Night, does anyone have the Radiomaster Pocket in stock? That's a good question. Let me look at a webpage. Let me see if my friend over here has it. I can never remember how to spell it. See, I know he had it the other day. He was like the only store that I saw have a friggin' Radiomaster Pocket in stock. Come on, man. His website's janky sometimes. It's out of stock. The Boxer and the Pocket. Never mind. They do not. Can't help you. I looked at Pyro Drone the other day because I want to do a thing. Someone on my Discord gave me this insane idea. Well, it wasn't. Okay, let me get to the genesis of this. Chow made a video, and he did a cool thing where he pretended the video was playing on a Game Boy. And I thought, that's really cool, but I don't want to make a video of it playing on a Game Boy. I want to fly a quad with a Game Boy. So I went and put a parts list together. A Radiomaster Pocket and an analog FPV screen. And then I'm already custom designing in Blender the Game Boy. And I'm going to tear all the stuff out of the Pocket, tear all the stuff out of the FPV screen. And I'm going to make a very large, and it's going to be called the Grease Boy, that has gimbals where the Game Boy joystick or D-pad was going to be. And then it will have some latch buttons for A and B. It'll have some stuff on the sides and an adjustable FPV screen. And inside of it will be all of the holes needed to just drag and drop, dump, and place all the stuff out of your Radiomaster Pocket into this Game Boy container. Well, Grease Boy. I can't say Game Boy because Nintendo will come straight after me and I will be in a lawsuit that I can't win. It is called the Grease Boy, and it won't look exactly like the Game Boy, which is Nintendo's flagship product. Anyway, you'll be able to put a lanyard on this thing and have the Grease Boy out in front of you with a screen, and you can pop it up and you can fly on your Grease Boy because I want to. So I was looking at Radiomaster Pocket stuff the other day and pricing it and seeing if it was even something I could afford to do, which it barely is something I can afford to do. Thank goodness the Pocket is so cheap. But yeah, I found one in Pyro Drone, but it's out of stock now. So I was going to get all the stuff, but I hadn't done it yet. That is a wintertime project for me. So before summer, you will see the Grease Boy. And I will release the STLs for the Grease Boy. And everyone can make a Grease Boy. Make him as greasy as you want. And we can all blame Chow for giving me a terrible idea. Terrible idea, Chow. Rick at Night has a Jumper T Pro with AG01. Roll axis started going back to 0 really slow. The stick is fine, but the screen shows the channel slowly going back to 0. It must be something about the polling. I wonder if the plug is like not seated properly, or there's something on the board that isn't polling it correctly. So, yeah. Spido OP, can you suggest me a good Lipo charger? Well, let me see if I can suggest you a good Lipo charger. Let me share a Google Chrome tab with you real quick. Are you in the United States, Spido? That's going to make a difference. I never assume anymore because there's so many people that are not. So I don't make any assumptions on that anymore. Okay, let's look at Pyro Drone. Let's look at FPV gears. There are chargers under this. Go away. I hate that pop-up they always do. Batteries and chargers. All right. Let's see. Chargers and power supplies. Let's look at their chargers. So I have the Hoda D6 Pro here. I'm gonna make a thing out of that. Let's open up the D6 Pro. So this is a great charger. This is what I have. It is a 2-bay charger, so you can charge 2 packs at 2 different voltages at 2 different amp loads, and it does it right off the wall, so you don't have to have a separate power supply, which is really nice. It is $117. It's kind of expensive. definitely kind of expensive. So that's what I currently have and what I would highly recommend. However, there are some newer things. This one is cool. The green one. Fly High sells it too. If you've never heard of Fly High, FPV, his store has the green ones. I think Hoda has a newer model. Do they have a newer model? They have the UPC7, the UP8, S6. I want a more than 2-channel. Does Hoda have any of that? I don't think they do. Not on here anyway. Not at Pyrodrone. But the D6 Pro is never a bad pick. Not at all. So if I was going to just standard out of the bag pick one, I would tell you to go get the D6 Pro. That's where I'd live with that one. So my top round pick for a Lipo charger, D6 Pro. And I have 2 of them, so I can charge 4 packs at once, which is kind of an expensive way to do things. But it is the safest way to get 4 packs charged at the same time. And I can charge a 6S pack next to a 4S pack, next to a 3S pack, and not worry about it, which is super nice. Let's see. Spido, what's my thought on the SkyRC blue ones? The SkyRC blue ones, those are the ones with the like the pixel screen. I have one. I have one of those. They are okay. That is the bare minimum for charging. It is not terribly safe. Mine gets really hot. I think I've already killed 1 DC brick with it. I used to charge a lot of truck batteries for RC trucks. Your mileage may vary, but the Hoda's going to work forever. So if you get a Hoda, it'll work forever. But the other one, you're going to wind up buying 2 or 3 of them eventually. All right, Spido, Toolkit RC M4. A Toolkit RC M4 is a good charger. Toolkit RC has historically had some quality control issues, which I can't personally vouch for because I haven't bought enough of their products. But if you go read about a lot of their products, they had some runs of bad products. It happens. And some people were very disappointed in their chargers and had to get them replaced or make modifications to them. So it is cheaper, but you might pay for the cheapness or you might not. It might be a great charger. Toolkit RC does make good stuff when it works. It just doesn't always work in what I understand of Toolkit RC. Chow says the F6 is a good quad charger. The F6, yeah. It has the built-in PSU. It's a 4-bay, but it wasn't on here. I didn't see the F6. Maybe Pyrodrone doesn't have the F6. I'm going to have to find it now. Let me look. Let me search. I hit my mic. Oh, the F6. Oh, it's just weird. It just looks weird. No, that's it, man. That is it. Okay, let me share this back. Because you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. This is a great charger. 4-bay. That's a 4-bay charger, man. 250 watts, 15 amps, 1 to 6S, quad channel charger. And this has DC. This one does not have DC. Where's the one with the DC? Is it Pro? Because they don't have the Pro on Pyrodrone. Does the Pro have DC? So if you can find a Pro version with DC, with AC, not DC. This is DC. You want AC. My bad. Because if you look at the back of this one, you have to have a separate charger to power this charger. You don't want to do that. That is a gigantic pain. So if you can find one that takes AC in the F6 line, that would be awesome. But it's probably going to be like $150. So, let's see. Oh, this chair is not ergonomic. Yes, Chow runs 3x the D6 Pros instead of parallel chargers. I agree. Fluxathine. I bought 5X Toolkit RC M6 a long time ago, and one had non-functional fan, but now I use M9, and I'm happy with it. Yeah, it was the fan sometimes. It was the screen other times. Sometimes channels would be calibrated wrong. Some people were having to change resistors in theirs because some of the resistors were not to spec or something like that. But it is hit or miss. Sometimes they're great, and sometimes they're not. But, you know. Oh, Fluxathine. F6 is a fire hazard. It burned when discharging 6S Lipo. Lipo was okay. I wonder if the maximum discharge is on that. Maybe it's because of so when you discharge a Lipo, all it's doing is burning off all the excess power with a resistor. I wonder if the resistor caught fire. I didn't know that. Glorious quads. Hoda AC chargers have one small but potentially dangerous issue. When powered with AC, the DC jack gives 30-ish volt output. You call it an issue. I call that handy. I could think of a lot of uses for an extra 30-ish volt output on the back of my charger while I'm charging. But no, safety-wise, that doesn't sound safe. But I would print something in TPU to plug that, probably, if I wanted to be extra careful. For sure. I didn't know Ovonic made chargers, FPV, Avery. It's been great. How long have you had it? I wonder. I always liked Ovanic's packs. I bought a lot of Ovonic packs on Amazon, but I have not ever owned one of their chargers. Not yet, anyway. Maybe I'll have to try it. But I am really happy with my D6s, even though I have not tried to plug anything like my greasy fingers into the jack on the back. But now I'm going to. Now I'm going to, because Glorious Quads has made me intrigued. I'm going to go stab it with some probes and see what happens. FPV Avery says he's had the Ovonic for over a year now, and it's good. But I would say that Hoda is like the FPV industry standard for charging our things. So the Hoda line of things is kind of like gold tier. Toolkit RC would be down in the next tier. And then the stuff you find on Amazon that's like just generic aluminum casing would be like bottom of the barrel things. So Ovonic is a good brand, though, so Ovonics might be okay. There was another, what's the other brand of stuff that people use for like RC cars? Let me go back on this page and see, because I know they have a bunch of them. Hoda's like all over this listing. I used to own one of these. Hold on a minute. Let me find it. Hoda. ISDT. Yep, ISDT chargers. They're good too. I used to use them for my RC trucks. But I would own a Hoda over an ISDT now. What's up, FPV Bacall? What is up? All right, so we've got this frame. I have not put the top plate on. I spent too much time talking. So now I'm going to start putting the top plate on. And I'm going to put the camera... I'm going to put the camera plates in. I think I am. Possibly. So, camera plates. Camera plates are nice on Quadmula frames. I was showing those to you guys earlier. I've got my top plate screws over here. I'm going to push them out of the way for now. Put my top plate over there with them. Gamma Gonad. I have a couple of D6 Pros, but I had to buy an ISDT 8S charger when I built an 8S Moon Goat. I'm cheap, so I wired it to one of my 3D printer's power supply. I did that too. I jacked the power supply off my Ender 3 when I wanted to power my ISDT charger. I was parallel charging off a single ISDT charger and an ISDT parallel board. Don't do that. Please don't do that. But I jacked the power supply off of my Ender 3 because it comes out as an XT60. So I stole it and just wired it straight up, and it worked really well. I had to change the plug on the end because the plug was different. Okay, so you will see something about these plates. Here's the two plates. They have the aluminum grommet in them, which is kind of the Quadmula standard thing, so you don't crush your your TPU, like I was saying. But the notch for where the camera goes, up high, and if you flip them over and invert them, it is down low. So depending on how you put this in, you're going to see more or less of the top plate in view. I would make the assumption that if you put them down low, you will be better off than if you put them up high. But there's not enough room for the camera. So I guess they intend for you to put the holes on the top. So that means they will go in like that right there with the notch. Can you see the notch? Nope. This camera doesn't have the best resolution. The notch is up toward the top. The aluminum grommet's up toward the top. I assume that's how they want them to go because that is what looks like the most clearance for the camera. Now, there are 4 screws included with that, or 3 screws included with that I am not going to screw with. I'm not going to screw with those screws right now. But I'm going to put the top plate on, and these are countersunk, so it does go on one way. And the reason I'm putting the camera plates on now is because they are kind of a pain in the ass to get on sometimes. So I want to get over the pain in the ass as soon as possible. And then there's, again, a mix of M2 and M3 screws on the top, depending on the standoff you're going into. And I just get them all in loosely. I never tighten one until I have them all in. So that's how I roll with that. Murders. Top plate is not in view if you slide the camera forward, but Murders is the notch for the O3, since it's not in the center of the plates, supposed to be facing the top or the bottom plate. That is my real question. It does have slidables, which is nice because on my F5s, the camera plates in my F5 and my F3 quads, The camera plates do not have slidable grommets, which would be super awesome. I bet they've already adjusted their prints to do that. If they haven't, they should. So, but does it face the top or the bottom? That's the real question. What's up, FPV McCall? You're in Istanbul. That's right, you are in Istanbul. I remember that now. It's 11 p.m. right now. Well, you're watching me late at night. It's late night bacon. It's like a bedtime breakfast right now. Murder's the top. Okay, so Murders did confirm it. Murders is a pilot for Quadmula. The notches go toward the top, like I suspected. Based on if you put them toward the bottom, I think the camera would bottom out as soon as you went over like 15 degrees of camera tilt. So it made sense to put them on the top. It was a little harder to decide on the F3 and the F5 because there was more clearance. So you could basically run them in either orientation and be fine. And it would just make a difference in how much of the top plate you could actually see in the shot. So FPV but called bedtime bacon. Nobody wants bedtime bacon, I'm telling you. Nobody. Matty O asked me if I know about Ender 33 3D printers. Seem to have messed up something and my Z-axis won't home. I assume you mean Ender 3 and your 3 key got stuck. And if that is the case, the Z-axis not homing is a fairly common issue with the Ender 3 because it uses a cherry switch on the left side of the printer at the bottom of the gantry to determine where home is. And sometimes, because of the way Ender 3s are made out of aluminum extrusion and they use rubber wheels to ride in the aluminum extrusion, you have to go back and you have to readjust that little switch. So what I would do is I would unlock my steppers, I would power the printer off. I would manually move my Z gantry down, and then I would take a look at that switch, locate the switch, and make sure the Z gantry is making contact with the switch. I have seen it break the arm off of that cherry switch and be a problem. And if you've done that, you've got to order a new switch. If it's not that, then it could be the screw's loose because that is an adjustable height homing switch. So you can just loosen a screw and then move it up and down. Just make sure that it's making contact when that is down where the bed should be. So a really good way to do it is to take your bed screws, the leveling screws, screw them all the way down, all 4 of them, all the way down. Put your gantry all the way down. Loosen that little homing switch, and then move your gantry up just a little bit, move the bed up about 3 turns, and then make that the bottom point of your gantry. If you do that, then you'll have enough room to kind of adjust your bed and some other things. And then you can set your Z height different on prints. So yeah, you probably need to readjust that. And if that didn't make sense straight off, there are a ton of tutorials on how to do that with an Ender 3 because it's such a popular printer. So yeah, go watch somebody on YouTube do it or read through it if it didn't immediately make sense to you, but that's basically what you'll be doing. So Fluxathine, you can make bacon themed quads, bacon frame, bacon motors, bacon props, flying bacon. I could. You're right. I won't. I will make bacon themed 3D prints because I think that's a lot of fun. And if someone wanted to make props, if they took the like the Vanny style Gym Fan props, because I know Gym Fan does print on props. If they took the Vanny style Gym Fan props and they printed bacon on top, I would totally be down to put my name on that because I love those props and I would love to see bacon on them. Motors, I can't put my name on them. I won't do it just because motors with pilot's name on them are just motors that cost more. Frames, I won't do it unless I design the frame or I collaborate directly with somebody to make a frame do exactly what I want it to do. Because okay, I'm putting a Quadmula frame together right now. This is a 2.5-inch frame. It's a very, very good frame. There's not a lot of reason for me to go make a 2.5-inch frame because this is such a good frame and there are other great options. I don't think I could really innovate on it. There's just not a lot of innovation. Now, something like the AOS frame where Chris Prosser is specifically targeting clean resonance graphs and tunability, that makes sense. So he made that stuff specifically for people that care about those very specific things that don't exist in some other frames. They do exist in some frames. But anyway, yeah, I don't know that I could bring any differentiation. So I won't throw my name on things to sell it. That's not something I'll do. But the props, I'll make the concession for the props. I do want bacon printed props. King Kick the channel became my fave props. Which are the Vanny style props? Yes, I love the Vanny style props. If I'm gonna fly a Jim fan, they're the Vanny styles. But if I'm gonna fly anything else, they're normally Ethix Radberries. The reason I don't fly Vanny styles on everything is because they are a stiffer, wider profile prop, and they tend to have a little bit more vibration. Well, so I'm not going to say vibration. That's the wrong word. The spring. The props have spring, if you didn't know. So the disc of a prop, as it's spinning, you can't think about it like 3 blades. You think about it like a single circle of polycarbonate. And the thickness, width of the prop makes that polycarbonate either more able to move up and down when like bend it or not. And the Vanny styles are pretty thick. So the polycarbonate disc is pretty thick, which means that it grips the air really well, makes really tight turns really nice, but it's not very forgiving when you want to like drift sideways because it wants to cut and grab. So I like the Radberries just a little bit more because they flex a little bit more and it just makes the lines feel smoother to me. And they are also just a hair more responsive because they're lighter. So that's what I tend to go for. That's what's up. Can I get a channel? Roster is awesome. So is Carl from AC0. Carl from AC0 is an awesome dude. That dude he does so much that people will never know. We've had some long conversations. That guy is so invested in his company, his products, more invested time-wise and like processing thought power-wise than almost anybody I've ever met that owns a company. So he's super into it. And then Roster is awesome for his scientific testing. I do wish, there's one thing that I wish, and that is that some people who watch the videos, they listen to what he says, and what he says is amazing, and that is terrific. He is not giving anybody bad information. They just don't necessarily always have the context to apply the information. It's a bunch of scientific testing, and that is amazing. But I have seen some people burn up quads by trying to tune the way he tunes because they don't understand the quad has to be mechanically clean first. So they push it too far and they burn motors or they burn ESCs. But they learned that lesson after one. So I guess they did learn that lesson. But it would be nice to kind of put some warnings around some of the content so that people didn't just go out and try it without first understanding some of the other basic things it builds on. Because a lot of people come into this hobby and there's so much to learn and they find something like that and they don't know what they don't know. And then they'll go ruin a quad and they feel really bad and then they maybe get out of the hobby. So I hate to see people leave the hobby because they've had a bad experience because they didn't have all the information to make an informed decision about what they were doing because they were just new. So yeah, I wish there was a little bit of warning around some of that stuff, but the content is great for sure. FPV Bacal, tuning is overrated. Get out and get some flight time. Yeah, you're right. Tuning is overrated. I can usually fly a quad on Betaflight defaults. If it's a 5-inch quad, Betaflight defaults, if it's built right, I can fly a quad and you probably can't tell if I've tuned it or not, unless it's just blatantly bad. And if it's blatantly bad, there's something else wrong with it. Smaller quads and bigger quads have to have a little bit of master slider tuning just because their PID needs are different. But usually I can go tune something on defaults if it's a 5-inch and just fly it, and it's fine. You can also chase down the rabbit hole of tuning. That's fine too. If it's some people enjoy it. Some people love to do that. They like looking at the charts and graphs and the feedback. And that's part of what they love in the hobby. And that is totally fine if that's what they want to do. That's not how I like to spend all my time. I do spend some of my time doing that just because I like to know how frames perform and how I could push it a little harder if I want to. But I usually don't push too hard because I like to crash them. And with a really tight tuned quad, as soon as you crash it, you are risking ruining it. So I just don't. I go a little ways. I never go past just a normal slider tune and just a little bit of changes to the filters. It's pretty minimal. So yeah, totally good point. Plus, yeah, FPV call, you have to kind of adapt to the setup sometimes. By flying things that are not really tuned well, you kind of have to learn how to fly things that are not tuned well, which makes you a better pilot when things are tuned well. As long as it's not dangerously untuned. Murders. Tuning is overrated. Yes. Like sitting around looking at your black box log for hours and hours and hours is not something everyone wants to do and is not important. What you're talking about, Murders, is just base tuning, like making some slider changes that are necessary because of some layout in the quad. Like if it's not a true X or something like that, those are necessary changes. But pushing your tune to the 99th percent is not necessary. Yeah. And yeah, like Murder says, it takes little time to tune a quad once you know what you're doing. Yes, for the 95%, it takes very little time. That other 5% that you can chase endlessly is not worth doing. It is not worth chasing endlessly to make perfection happen, because you will chase it one day and the next day it will change, and you'll crash it once and it'll change again, and then you're constantly doing it. It never ends. But the 95% is perfectly fine. Let's see. Yeah, Glorious Quad says, I don't believe tuning is not overrated, not even one bit. Do you mean you don't believe tuning is overrated, or you do believe tuning is overrated? And by overrated, I'll clarify. I'm talking about the 95% to 100% tuning, for sure. And Chow has a similar thought. So I think it's very common virus in the hobby that you need the best of X Quad. It'll make you better. Yeah, so the same thing. Like if you push everything to 100%, it's not going to make you a better pilot. 95%, 90% is really all you need for a stable, well-flying quad. You don't have to get the newest, hottest stuff, the newest motors because they exist, the newest stack because it exists. Learning how to fly what you have and what you have available to you can do a lot for you, even if it's not perfect, for sure. You can learn a lot from flying imperfect quads. I fly a lot of quads that are not perfect. Like this one that you guys haven't seen yet. This is one I've never showed on the channel. This is the B35 from SpeedyBee. And it's not an imperfect quad. It is an imperfect build. I built this one, and it is on T-Motors 1605s? 1604s. It's on P1604s. This is a chonky chonk quad for 1604 motors and 5-blade props. But the 1604s is what I had. And I can inverted yaw spin this, and I can fly it, and I can freestyle it, and I can spang it, and then I can also fly it cinematic. Does it look good doing all of it? No, it does not, because it's not ever going to have the power and performance and response to do it. And I could tune it to do better, to get even better than that. I could push it to that 99th percentile tune and probably get a lot better performance out of it. But I can still fly it at 90% and get done what I need to get done in a way that looks just fine. So that's the part, that last 5%. Fun per volt. Y'all believe in FPV hell? Speak bad of Roster and find out. I'm not speaking bad of Roster. Roster's a great guy. His information is genuinely insightful and very useful. I would caution people to jump in without having a big base of prior knowledge for some of it, because he does get really deep, and he'll tell you that. I mean, he gets deep on the videos. He shows you very deep analysis of things that you have to wrap yourself around first. Like if he tells you about thrust performance of motors, you have to understand in context of the weight of the quad and what you're trying to get out of the quad. Because if you just go for the thrustiest motors possible, and then you try to push the nth degree tune on it with a super clean filter tune, you might run into problems that you don't know how to handle yet. So that's all I'm saying. It's not about Rosser at all. His information is great. I just think there needs to be some context around some things sometimes and how it is presented is all. All right. Well, we are off on a tangent about tuning now, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate emails. That's okay, because that's how I honestly feel. I'll push a tune to 90% and then I'm done. And then I don't want to buy the newest, hottest thing to fly when other things work perfectly fine. When it comes to frames and sizes, that's a different story. I like new frames and sizes. Like this 2.5-inch excites me because I like the possibilities of an O3 in a 2.5-inch, because I want to see how far I can stuff it into a small gap. That's what I like. But I'm going to use motors that I've had in my Boxo motors before for a long time. I'm not going to buy new motors. They're like 3-year-old motors, and they're going to fly, and it's going to fly just fine. It's going to be so great. Can I get a channel? Voice recognition is awesome because my fingers are busted up. That's what I get for being a contractor. Stop busting up your fingers, man. You need those to fly with. You got to fly with those fingers. Don't bust up your flying fingers. Can kick the channel. I have never tuned a quad. I can deal with a little prop wash. And you know, that is a thing. Flying with prop wash. It is a thing that you can learn how to fly out of. And if you ask a lot of pilots that spend a lot of time flying, like my quads have prop wash. I don't have the prop wash tuned out of them. And in some videos, the prop wash is there, and that's fine. You can see my quad fly like my quad. I'm not going to turn on stabilization and hide the prop wash. That's fine. We all fly. I crash a lot. I destroy things. That's perfectly fine too. I'm not an imperfect human being. All right, I am an imperfect human being. I'm not a perfect human being. So that's totally fine. I learned to fly through a lot of prop wash. It really depends on the angle you take things. Like, say you're coming out of a loop and you don't want the prop wash as you come down the backside of the loop. Well, eventually you learn to keep your quad pointed forward so that you don't land in your wash. And by doing that, you can fly crappier quads and not have prop wash. But if you always expect to not have prop wash due to a very, very good tune, then you would probably learn how to do it where when you come down flat. And that coming down flat is where you experience the prop wash. So over time, if you run the quad with a lot of prop wash, you learn to not fly into it, which is a good thing to know, because prop wash, yes, it ruins video, but it's also really tough on the motors and the flight controller. So it's not that it's a good thing to have, but learning how to fly without it is a really good skill to have down. And unless you fly something with it, then you might not ever have to learn how to fly out of it. I mean, I missed some comments up here. Let's see. Ross, how dare you have an opinion? Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to offend everyone. I do have an opinion. And like I said before, I was asked if this was my full-time job. It is not my full-time job. So this does not affect my ability to feed my children. So yeah, I will have an opinion on occasion. That's for sure. Somebody asked about weight. Let's see. Zach King, are you worried about the it moved. Are you worried about the weight being too heavy for 2.5-inch props? I mean, it's always something to think about. When you're talking about smaller disc loading, you always want to think about, am I going to have enough disc to support the weight of this quad? And yes, I am worried about it, but not to a point where I'm like gonna not build one. I will just think about it thoroughly when I put the parts in it and how I pick what I pick. Like I said, I already have the motors picked out because I've had them. I think I have the stack picked out, and I know what that weighs. And an O3 Air Unit is the most heavy part of the whole thing. Well, actually, I take that back. The battery is the heaviest part of the whole thing, and that's where I'm going to make the change, because I'm going to put an O3 in this. I'm going to rip the O3 out of that SpeedyBee whoop I just showed you. I'm going to put an O3 in it. So I know there's nothing I can do about the weight. I've got a decently lightweight stack. I've got decently lightweight motors. The only place I can really cut anything is the battery. And right now, all I have is 550 milliamp hour 6S packs. So I'll probably go to 350 milliamp hour 6S packs or somewhere in there, and then see how they feel. I'll buy one and see if I like it. And then if I like one, I'll buy 3 more and I'll own 4. And that's what I'm going to do about the weight and how I'm going to consider it. It's not that I'd be scared to build it because of the disc size and weight. It's more that I just need to keep it conscious in mind when I'm picking things. That's all. So you can make anything fly. It's just about how well it flies when you're done. And if you take a lot of conscious effort and decisions, you can usually work out a way. You're going to either lose flight time, or you're going to lose flight performance, or you're going to lose efficiency. Well, that's flight time. Or you're going to lose response. So there's some trade-offs, but you just have to be aware of the trade-offs up front and target the thing that's the most important to you. For me, it's going to be performance. And if I only get 2.5 minutes out of a flight, that's fine. I will change packs more often. The way I fly, if you fly over 3 minutes, there's a good chance you're going to crash. So shorter flights are fine. That saves my quad parts. Moist, hey guys, how's it going? Charging up my packs. Go rip for us, Moist. Rip one for me, buddy. I don't get to fly today. Rip one for me. I'm too busy. I'm way too busy. Gamma Gonad 2.5-inch O3 will fly fine. Yeah. I have a Cine 25 with O3 running RC and Power 1207s. Fly surprisingly awesome, especially for a guarded prop quad. Yep. It will be okay. It's not too heavy. The only thing that can make this really heavy is, like I said, the battery. If I put too big of a battery on it, then it can go crazy. But I will not put too big of a battery on it, and it will be fine. It'll be all the fine. Torpedo Law. The wife called me for the 7th time with a huge FPV box from FPB. What's FPV? FPB. What is that? I am genuinely intrigued by this acronym. On the doorstep. This time she opened it and saw the receipt for $800. Now I'm sleeping on the couch. What can I do? I have a garage, and I can probably throw a mattress on the floor, if that helps. I mean, the gas money, the commute to work might be rough, but I am totally down. I am totally down to let you sleep in my garage. Oh, Torpedo Law, get FPV. But why FPB? That's not even an acronym for get FPV. It'd be like GF something, right? I'm so confused. FPB. Oh, is that just what they put on the? Is that what they put on the boxes? I haven't ordered from Get FPV in months. Just so you know, months. I order from Race Day Quads and Pyrodrone and BLheli32. I stay away from Get FPV. It's just a thing. It's just a thing I do. It's one of my things. Scratch, return the wife. I think it'd be more expensive to return the wife. I hear there is a lawyer involved. But his name is Torpedo Law. Maybe he could just torpedo the law into making that cheaper. I wouldn't, though. I love my wife too much for that. I would give away the quads first. Shady's Tube. Greetings from Germany. Awesome. You tried out HD0. That is great. I love HD0. I fly all of them. I'm a weirdo in that I fly DJI, Walk Snail, Analog, HD0 regularly. I fly them all, and I do not pick a preference between them. I use them all for different things, and I feel like there's a lot of that in the FPV hobby. There's a lot of different options that are tools for different use cases, and I like to use the use cases. And for HD0, like my Grinderino build will be HD0 because I don't care so much about the pretty flight footage. I want this to be high reaction time, so I put HD0 in it. If I want to use the flight footage, then I might have put Walk Snail in it. If I want to use it with no action cam, I might have put DJI O3 in it. It just depends. But I use them all. But HD0 is really great for the use case that it is, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff. I finally got HD0 goggles the other day. It took me 8 months to get HD0 goggles because I'm broke. And the pair that I used for my videos at the beginning of the year was not mine. Ryan Quillett lent that to me, and I had to return it in February. So I've not had HD0 goggles since February, and I finally was able to work out a set. And I'm so happy that I get to play with them now instead of having to use my VRX all the time. Ugh. Moist. How's the season of giving going? Is the drawing coming up? The drawing happened last week. It happened last weekend. I have not posted it to the channel yet because I'm waiting on some replies from 2 other people to make sure I don't have to redraw. But all of the winners have been announced, and they will not announce it. They have emails. So if you got an email for me, you're a winner. And then part 3 is not going well at all. It's not going well. Some of the vendors totally bailed on me, as happens in FPV. I'm not going to go over the names of the ones that bailed over me because there are probably circumstances beyond my control as to who bailed. And it might not even be something they meant to do. So I'm not going to downplay them, but I will say that I didn't have anything to give away for part 3. So it looks like until further notice, there will not be a part 3, and part 2 is going to be the end of it, unfortunately. I really wish I could have given away more things, but William, last live stream I said I had 4 Quadmula frames and hadn't broken any of them. I have now broken a top and bottom plate on the Siren F5 Mini. I also smashed a Hero 11. Good times. It sounds like you had a good time. Man, if you smashed a Hero 11, then you were doing something hard. And if you broke a top and bottom plate, you were doing something real hard, buddy. But, I mean, that is the split Mini, so it does have the more lightweight, thinner top and bottom plate. So, yeah, if you were going to break one, I can see that. I did see a few people break their bottom plates on things. So it does happen. It does happen. Nothing's indestructible either in FPV. Unfortunately, 2 people can buy the same thing, and 2 people will break it at 2 different times. Some people will break it in the first pack, and other people's it maybe 2 years later. It's weird how that works out in FPV, but it sure does. It sure does. Let's see. Yeah, Chow says, beware of all the things bug when you're 6+ months in. It's real tempting to gear up, try all the things. Forcing yourself to have monthly budget helps. Yeah, and Chow knows because Chow has done it. He's speaking from experience. We've talked about that before. Having all the things is really expensive. Really, really, really expensive. And if I didn't spend time telling people how to use the things on YouTube, I would not have all the things. The only reason I have all the things is because I want to help you figure out the use cases and the best way to use them and how to use them without being confused. So that's why I have the things, so you don't have to have the things. That's kind of the way I look at it. I have all the things and I'm obligated to try them so that I can help inform you as to the things you actually need when you want to do something you want to do, and how to utilize those things. And I've got to have the things to show you. That's the only reason I really have them all. Let's see. William NS says, yeah, flippy flops over asphalt. I already ordered replacements and I'll call GoPro tomorrow. I have had GoPro replace this bones. I think this is the third one. The third bones I've had in 2 years. I got my first bones when it first came out, like immediately when it first came out. I think I killed it in no, I didn't kill it in 6 months. It was almost a full year before I killed the first one. But I have killed it twice since then. It happens. And I put them in TPU cases. Normally I don't fly them naked like this. I don't let them be all naked. But yeah. And GoPro has replaced it every time, and they have never asked me for the whatever money that is, the deductible part. I have never once paid the deductible for a GoPro. I've gotten super lucky. And I can tell you, they have no idea who I am because it's not because I'm on YouTube. They just didn't make me pay for them. It's probably because when I killed them, they aren't like crushed in. It's mostly electrical breakage inside, so it doesn't look like I've totally obliterated them. But yeah, they've never once charged me, which is really nice. I'm sure it's going to happen though. I have one in my drawer right now. I need to send back, and I haven't done it. But Chow, I'm sending you mine next time I smash it. No, I won't do it for you, Chow. I won't let you break my streak like that. Will not. King Keck, did you have to pay to ship it to get repaired? No, they sent me the box. I sent it back. They sent me a refurb. If you're asking me, I might have totally missed it. Oh, Moist. Yeah. When you get back, ask me again. I did answer it, but I'll answer it again. For you, Moist, I'll do it. Chow says they charged me $200. I did turn the thing into an accordion. Yeah. I think that's the difference. If you clearly turn it into rubble, then they charge you the money. But if I always have a really nice TPU case, which I have shredded the TPU case. I always have except for that one I just showed you. I always have a nice TPU case. This one. That's the TPU case I designed. So it's really protective in all the places. And I have shredded the shit out of these TPU cases. And the camera has been fine, but it takes such a G-force impact that you can literally hear things rattling inside the camera. So yeah, when I take pictures, when they say, please send us a picture so we can assess the damage, it looks perfectly fine. So I guess they somehow think it's their fault and they have not charged me. I'm cool with it though. That's all right. I'm sure they're going to get me. They're going to get me. They will definitely eventually get me. I am really hoping it won't happen, but I'm really hoping that we get another session format. I'm not a huge fan of the 11 mini just because it had overheating issues, and I don't know. I wasn't up for it. I just was not up for that format of camera. So I've been running the bones, and I have no intention of upgrading until we get some kind of session. I do have a Hero 9 Black. Is it a 9? Either a 9. No, it is a 9 because it's not a 10. I have a Hero 9 Black that I got as a replacement, in fact, for a Hero 5. I bought a Hero 5 years ago, like way before FPV, because if you don't know this, I actually had another YouTube channel back then. It was a family vlog. It was a daily family vlog. I edited thousands of videos. Anyway, we did a lot of the production on GoPro, so I had a GoPro. Well, eventually I broke it. Like I flew that GoPro, that Hero 5 Black, and I broke the front screen, and then I cracked the back screen, and it worked. But I decided to use I had never used a GoPro warranty. I decided to get the GoPro warranty because I had it on the bones already and use it. So I used it, and they sent me a 9 black for my 5 and didn't charge me anything, which was pretty nice. But you know, I've been tempted by the DJI cameras. I don't know. I like the O3 Air Unit footage. I don't like to color grade it, and I feel like that would be the same problem if I got the Mini 2. But I really love color grading GoPro footage. It just comes out so good. So good. And I never use stabilization anyway. So like I don't even need a GoPro for that because I literally never turn it on. So if I just had a camera that had the same sensor and color processing as a GoPro and cost half as much because it doesn't have all the gyro stabilization and all the other stuff in it, I'd be happy. Be happy camper. But they don't make one, unfortunately. If they could just cut that out and then charge me $200 less, I'd probably be all over it. Moist. I've never had an action camera. I think the Vista footage is good enough. It totally is. There's nothing wrong with Vista footage. Totally is. I used to fly like exclusively a GoPro. I would always show GoPro footage in my review videos or whatever. I've kind of gotten away from that. I've been using a lot of walk snail onboard footage. I've been using a lot of O3 onboard footage. I still do record with my my GoPro when I want to make like an edit, because that's just different. But when I'm showing stuff for review, I just use the DVR 99% of the time now. And Moist, you said you had missed my answer to your question earlier. Yes, I sent the giveaway winners for part 2 their emails early last week. I think it was on Monday. But I am waiting to put it on the community channel because I may have to redraw 2 of them. So I don't want to put it out and then have to retract it and edit it. So anyway, yeah, they have been drawn. And part 3 may not happen because some vendors, for one reason or another that I am not privy to, have not sent me their stuff. So anyway. Chow says he hasn't either flown a GoPro in a few months. It is heavy AF though. Yeah, it is super heavy. And Booster, you have a 7 black that you don't know what to do with because I use my Session 4. It's Session 4. I still have a Session 4 in my drawer. That rhymes. I have a Session 4. Everybody wants the Session 5, but I have the Session 4 for sure. Mr. Media, I like my Thumbcam Pro. The Thumbcam Pro is actually pretty solid. I was really happy with my Runcam 5 Orange. Like, honestly, if I made a video once about taking Runcam 5 Orange footage and doing a dynamic stretch and then doing a super view conversion to it. It was a whole process, but I wrote a script that basically ran your footage through this process, and it would basically spit out as close to GoPro format footage as you can get. And then I'd color grade that. And it actually didn't color grade badly. The only thing I didn't like about my Runcam 5 was the ND filter thing. I had to use the slide-ons, and they always fell out or broke. But the Thumb Pro with the lock-on ND filters is nice. I don't have the wide version, though. I have the narrower version, and sometimes it makes things look really funny. And I'd almost rather use, like, DVR than that. As long as it's not analog DVR, I'd probably use it. But I need to try the wide version. I just have not invested any money in it. But if it was a little bit wider, it would definitely be a little bit more of a match for me, for sure. Off for quad's sake, my TX16 went into emergency mode today. Is it the main ribbon cable on its way out? Into emergency mode. Yeah, it could be. Have you opened it up and checked it all? Is it loose? Is there anything going on in there? Because they don't really use ribbon cables, if I remember right. I haven't opened my 16 in a while. I want to say they don't use the flat pack ribbon cables in the Radiomasters. They use like full harness connectors and actual wire. So maybe something's just loose in there. But there's also a lot of other reasons for emergency mode. My TX12 used to do that, and it was because my real-time clock was wrong. So like it would freeze and then go into emergency mode and then have a hellacious time turning off or on. And my real-time clock battery was low. So, I mean, yeah. Off for quad's sake, it works and then goes into emergency mode. And does it, when you turn it back on, how long does it last before it goes into emergency mode? For sure. Good question. That will be good to know. Zach King, what prop or props do you use in your 5-inch quads? Oh, that reminds me. Someone mentioned earlier. I was talking about the props I use. I use the Ethix Radberries. I like the Ethix Radberries. Someone earlier mentioned that they explode. And yes, I had a whole batch of Radberries that exploded. Every time I touched a freaking twig, they'd blow off and die. I have not had that problem in several months. I think they had a bad batch and they might not have known or acknowledged it. But it seemed like they had a really brittle batch, and I got quite a few packs at a time. So it took me a while to run through the brittle ones that I had. But the ones that I have now, they bend like they're supposed to bend and they don't explode. I like them because the prop profile is a profile I like. It's a little more narrow and tapered. They aren't the lightest, but they are very responsive because of their taper. And I like a 3.6-inch pitch prop. I'm not into super high pitch props, and 5.1 is nice. But on my really light quads, I do a 4934, so 4.9-inch, 3.4 pitch. I believe those are the Jim Fan Spangs that I put on there, and it works really well on super light quads. But for general 5-inch quads, I usually go with a 5136 prop in a tapered, not so wide, chunky profile like the Radberries. All right. Who next? Chick with stick. No, it's a ribbon cable. If it's a ribbon cable, if it's a flat pack ribbon cable, then it totally can. Those flat pack ribbon cables are notorious for going bad. So if it's the like plastic wrapped, super thin, flat sheet, then yes. And I haven't had my 16S open in a while. I'm going to open it soon though and do a video on some things about it. But yeah, I couldn't remember what the inside looked like. Gregory Hurst, member for 7 months. What's up, Gregory? You have been around. Gregory Hurst was the first channel member that I ever had, and he's been here for 7 months, all silent and alone over there. I think there's only three channel members on YouTube, and he's one of the 3, but he is the OG channel member, getting those awards. And I do have a few videos out for channel members. It's really hard to do like channel membership stuff on YouTube. I have Patreon stuff, and I'm really bad at Patreon updates, like super bad because I'm so busy all the time. But it's even worse for YouTube ones. And like I can't pull spreadsheets of YouTube members, so putting them in video stuff, like I've got to go find everybody and then individually type everything out. And sometimes, like, yeah, it's not. YouTube should make that simpler. I feel really bad about it. My wife isn't here, so you guys talk crap about me now because she'll agree. My wife is in the chat. No, I have not had a chance to fly the Djinn F25 yet. It is still here on the bench. I will probably not be able to fly it for like 2 weeks because I'm gonna have to build it and then do some things, but really like fly it. It's probably gonna be 2 weeks out. I've got to fly more on the Grinderino. I've got a few other things that are kind of in the production pipeline a little bit further along. So I'm putting the Djinn together so that I can start the build, but I probably won't have it built and actually flown for like 2 weeks. It does take a little bit of it takes a while. Twisted FPV, I'm your latest viewer. Like late at night, do you watch me at 3 a.m.? If you do, that's kind of creepy. But it's okay, I get it. That's totally fine. I mean, it can be creepy and still be fine. Man, I'm surprised nobody's talking more crap about me while my wife's in the chat. I really thought that it would just open the floodgates. It usually does. Well, it's supposed to be nice weather this week. I hear it's raining in a lot of places, though. But it's supposed to be nice weather this week, and I am looking forward to putting a lot of time on this. This is a pretty build. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's so pink. I'm into the pink and teal color scheme now. I don't know what happened. Who is it that does that? There is a English YouTuber, FPV guy that does this. What is his name? I can't think of his name, but he has like really bright colored quads, and I saw one once, and I wasn't super into it at first, and then I saw one of his videos again, and I'm like, oh, kind of like that now, and I'm into the pink and teal now. Can I get a channel? You're one of my subs too. Are you on there? Are you on my channel members list? Let me look at my channel members list. Let me see. I have to like dig for it. They put it in a weird place, dude. It's not It's not immediately obvious. Oh, well, it doesn't show you in there. But you probably are a subscriber. Unfortunately, it doesn't show me the subscriber list either. Like it filters out. The only thing I can see is if you're publicly subscribed. Then I can see it. Other than that, I have no idea. It's just I'm out in the dark. Just out in the dark. I can't share anything about people that are on the channel because I can't see them most of the time. A show mouth. Did I print the file? I assume you mean these. That, yes, I printed that. I printed this on my Bamboo P1P. I had been using Enders and I hate it. I got to the point where I like didn't want to print anything. And that's one thing about the FPV hobby is you wind up with these other side hobbies just to have this hobby. And one of them is 3D printing because we have to 3D print so much crap for this hobby. Unless you just want to buy all your prints, which if you do, that's perfectly fine. But I don't like to wait for the mail. So I've been printing for a long time, like years and years now. And it's luckily I already had that skill coming into this hobby. But I hate printing now. Yeah, I hated printing. So I have Enders and Prusas and different sizes and all kinds of stuff. But I dreaded every time I had to print anything because I hated having to level my bed and then watch the first 3 layers and then start it over and then figure out why my TPU isn't feeding and then dry my filament. I mean, I hated all of it. But the Bamboo P1P fixed all of it for me. I love printing again because I can literally open the slicer, pick the kind of filament I want. And it doesn't have to be bamboo filament. It's not locked into the ecosystem. They have presets for other manufacturers. I can pick it. I can pick my plate. And then all I got to do is hit print. And over Wi-Fi, it just starts printing. It levels itself. It prints it out. And it hardly ever fails. I have printed like 40 things in the past week and a half with this. I put over 100 hours on this printer so far of just print time. And it has failed one print, which is not what I would say for my Enders. That King, thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate that. You are now on the long list of lost people that are on my channel members list that maybe I can find or not find. I need to like write a note every time I produce a video to go find the channel members list. I need to find the easiest way to do it in YouTube and like commit it to memory because every time I go to find it, like there's a little list at the bottom of my YouTube, but you can't export it, and then I can go to the bigger page, but I still can't export it. So yeah, it's a YouTube thing, but I need to make a better way to do it and keep up with doing it. I'm bad about it. I'm really bad about that. I produce my videos. So lately, I've been waking up at 7 o'clock on Saturday mornings and then spending the first 3 hours of my day editing the video that I shot probably Friday night because I finally get around to doing it. And then I release it as soon as it uploads because that's about the timeline that I have lately. That's kind of where I've been. It's not like I'm a week ahead and I can plan it out and then produce it and then edit it for over a couple days. No, I just like have to rush through it in 3 hours and then upload it. Let's see. Twisted, you run the 3600 kV on Grinderino, the oh my god 3600 kV. These are 3000 kV 1506s. 3000 kV RC and power 1506s. The reason that I like these is because they have a 5mm shaft, and I was going on this build for bashability, obviously, because of the fist for punching. So they have the bigger shaft, and you can use all 4 motor holes. Here on the oh my god one, there's only 2. So you use all 4 motor holes on this one. They are a little overpriced. RC and power motors are not cheap, but for the size and the shaft, that's really where I had to go with it. Grip. Can I get a channel Grip? Yeah. Gotta have Grip. I have Grip on every quad I own. I never put the stock battery pads on. It's Grip everywhere. William, I can basically do all that on my Ender 3 S1 Pro running Clipper, but it did take some configuration. Yeah, you can do it. So my Ender 3s are old. I haven't bought a new printer in many years. So they were super old. My Prusas were old too. None of them had BL Touch. They all just had, go level it with a piece of paper kind of thing. And yeah, I never ran Clipper on any of them either. I did have Octoprint for a while, which made it easier. But I mean, with the Bamboo, it's just so simple. It's just so easy, and it prints right every time, and I never have to screw with it. And I know it's going to keep doing it. So yeah, Bamboo did actually send me a P1P for some things that I'm going to be doing, but now I have a P1P and a P1S. So now I don't have just one of them. They're spawning. It's weird. It's weird how they spawn. But I am starting a print shop. So yeah, we're gonna start printing stuff for the Etsy's and get my laser running. I have a big, large format laser in the garage that I haven't ran in years either. It's a super huge CO2 laser. So we're gonna start up the Etsy store again because it seems like in 2023 you can't just have one job to get by. You've got to have 2 or 3. That's just the way of the world. So that's my second and third. That's my second and third job. My day job, and then lasers and Etsy, lasers and 3D printers. So that's how we have to afford groceries now. Groceries are so expensive. All right. Twisted. My Rush VTX just stopped lighting up after it crashed. Does that mean it's completely dead? Maybe, or maybe not. It stopped lighting up altogether. So that would mean that you don't have any power to it. Now, there's a couple of reasons you might not have power to it. One is very simple. It could just be a bad solder joint on the power pad it's soldered to. If it's in a plug, it's less likely. I would start by checking the plug and the solder joints just to make sure nothing's loose. I might reflow if they are soldered. I might resolder the power and the ground just to make sure that they aren't like cold soldered and they've lost their connectivity to the pad, even though they seem to still be attached. If that's not the case, then you may have lost a BEC. You may have lost the voltage regulator on the flight controller, or you may have killed the VTX. That's totally possible too. The only way to tell would be to take the VTX and connect it to a different BEC. Like for instance, if it's connected to a 9-volt or a 10-volt BEC now, maybe put it on the 5-volt rail and see if it powers up. If that VTX can handle 5 volts. Some of them don't go that low. They start out at like 7.2 volts. Another way to do it would be to put it on a different quad or different flight controllers, 10-volt, 9-volt rail, and see if it powers up. If that doesn't work, then you might have fried your VTX. But there's still some troubleshooting steps, and it may not be that you've killed it. If it was lighting up and then wasn't doing anything, or it was lighting up but the other lights weren't working on the same VTX, then you might have a different answer. But there's definitely some stuff to check, and you might not have actually killed it. It's more likely that it's either a bad solder joint or you've killed a voltage regulator on the board. Biggest Dickus Bacon, I have a question regarding the FE split. Mine exactly. What is your question? Does motors run super hot after flight? No, they don't. My 2004 motors on my F3 split do not run super hot after flight. If yours you're running 2004s, what props are you using? Because I am using HQ 3x3x3 props. If you're running something really steep, maybe. If you are, it also could be some resonance and your D gain is pushing your motors into heat. It's possible. So it might be a tune or a mechanical issue, but no, mine do not run hot on it. Let's see here. Bade, is it worth spending money on a 3D printer? Depends on how many quads you build. If you build like 1 quad a year, maybe not, because chances are you're not going to be putting a lot of printed parts on that quad. It may make more sense for you to buy your parts printed by somebody else. If you're going to build a quad a month or 5 quads a year or something like that, and you're going to be custom designing things like antenna holders and FPV cam mounts and GoPro mounts so that you can use your stuff at home, then it may make sense. It's possible. In fact, somebody asked this in the Discord today, and it looks like the Soval 06, I want to say, was on sale from Soval for like just over $200. And no, it's not a direct drive printer. It is a Bowden printer, which technically you're not supposed to print TPU in. But because the TPU we use is Shure 95A hardness, it feeds just fine in a Bowden. It takes a little bit of tuning to do, but you can totally print TPU with a Bowden printer, as long as it's not like Shure 85 hardness. It has to be Shure 95 hardness to print correctly. But that one was like $200. Or you can go with a Creality, or you can just go all the way up to something like the Creality's K1. You can build a Voron if you got a whole lot of spare time, or a Bamboo. There's a whole lot of good printers out there. But we actually had a whole debate and discussion about it in the Discord this morning. It was like hours of talking about it. Hours. William and S. Yeah, I'm both a bar manager and I own a small business in agriculture. I can almost afford my FPV habit. Dude. Seriously, yeah, I get it. 2023. We all got to have more than one job. There's no way to make it without it now. No way. Naorma, thanks for all the videos. They're very helpful. When and where will you announce the winners of the second giveaway? I've already sent them all emails. I sent them emails on Monday. I am waiting on a couple of responses before I post it on the community channel. If you read the terms and conditions of the top of the giveaway form, the way I was going to announce it was a community post. So I'm going to post it, but I'm waiting on 2 people, and I don't want to have to redraw and then retract and then make corrections. So I'm waiting on 2 people to respond, and then I'll post them up when everybody has, or I'll redraw and then post them after I've gotten redraw responses. So it may take a little bit, but yeah, they've already been announced to the people they are. I just haven't announced them publicly yet because I want to make sure everything's correct before I do. Let's see. You have the same as mine. Biggest Dickus says you have the same as he has the same as mine and tune as well. Should I resolder it? You're talking about you were asking about the VTX. Yeah, I would resolder the ground and the power to the board and just see if that helps. And if it doesn't, I would try to find an alternative power point. So if it's running on 9 volt now, I put it on 5 volt. If that can take 5 volt, or if it's running on 5 volt now, I'd put it on 9 volt if it could take 9 volt. Don't put it on the same voltage because that'll all come off the same regulator. So don't move it from like one 9 volt pad to another 9 volt pad. Move it from one voltage to another voltage as long as it's within the voltage range of the VTX, and see if that doesn't fix it. And if it doesn't, then you may have a bad VTX. Let's see who else FPV Baka, thank you. Everybody's becoming a channel member. You're trying to hide in the pages I can't see. I see what it is. Y'all are trying to group up in the places of YouTube where I can't see you. YouTube has to fix. They have to do better. They have to do better about that. They give us these options to use and build a community around, and then they like halfway do the tools sometimes. But meh. It is kind of frustrating to use YouTube's tools sometimes. My wife is so proud of all of you for supporting me because she knows that without your support, she would have to pay for my addiction. That's what she means. Go ahead and read straight into it because that's what she means. Yeah, Twisted. Thank you very much. I'm glad you watched all the videos. And yes, you can use the F405 because off your phone. It is so nice. It is so nice for the SpeedyBee stuff to use off your phone. There are also Mamba stacks you can do that with. So I believe some Mamba and maybe some T-Motor, I have to look at the list, have native SpeedyBee compatibility built in, which is really sweet. It is so handy to be able to whip out your phone in the field, connect to it, change my D-term slider because I hear something funny. That kind of stuff is so nice. Or like clear out my black box without having to set it up on my radio, or change some parameter somewhere. Move an OSD element. Hell, you can do all kinds of stuff in there. So yeah, it is super handy, and I really like it. I have a lot of flight controllers that don't have it, and I miss it. And I still wind up using the SpeedyBee app with my Android phone because I have a Pixel 6. I have a very nerdy Pixel 6. This is a D brand skin. If you haven't tried D brand stickers, they're really cool. No, they did not send this to me. I got a gift card and I wound up using it for this. Anyway, it's just a sticker. But in my Pixel 6, because it is Android, I can use USB-C to USB-C to control almost any flight controller with the SpeedyBee app, which is super nice. But I do like to do it wireless. Wireless is good. Well, thank you very much. Twisted says that Bot Grinder was the first person to help with FPV, and I've helped him a lot too. You don't have to join don't feel obligated to join the Patreon. Those people over there are a little crazy for giving me money to be crazy. But if you want to, I really do appreciate it. It really does help. They keep the lights on. Like, I could not be doing the live stream if it wasn't for them. And Bot Grinder, super cool dude. A lot of people see Bot Grinder's videos, and he does super crazy stuff, and he's like really out there. He has a big personality, but he's a really down to earth, really cool guy. I talk to him sometimes, not all the time, outside of that whole thing, and he's just a down to earth, really smart guy. And yeah, I'm glad to see him succeed so much. He deserves it. Oh. Off for quad's sake, have you tried a 5-inch pusher with the motors upside down yet? Not for 5-inch. Most of my pushers are like this. This is a 3.5-inch. So most of my pushers are like this or smaller. I have not tried a pusher 5. I don't think I've done bigger either. Most of my pushers all end at 3.5 inches. I don't know. I don't know if there's a reason why I would do a pusher on a 5-inch. Usually, so I have this frame. Usually you want your thrust line, right, to be about in line with the center of gravity of the quad. And when you're doing a pusher, your thrust line is not necessarily like that. Now, this kind of pusher, it makes sense for, because this is the motor, right? And it's face down, and my prop line is right here. But my center of gravity, my flight controller, and all the things are mounted upside down in this frame. So the pusher makes sense because all my stuff is hanging under the top plate, and that's where the motor is. So it's about in the same prop line as it would be if the arms were down here face up. But on a regular frame for a quad, if you make it a pusher, your prop line is going to be down here, well under the center of gravity. And that is going to do what's called the pendulum effect, which means that all the weight on the top and the thrust coming from under the center of gravity at the bottom is going to make this pendulum. And you may have some stability issues, and you may not. And if you don't have stability issues, you will definitely notice a difference in the control, because the control surfaces of a quad, the props, if they are down here, as you move it, it's just gonna put the vector of them off a tad, and it's gonna feel like you're kind of drifting around. So usually when you do a pusher, it is because the center of gravity is in line with the push. So yeah, I wouldn't do a pusher on 5-inch unless I was just trying to do something real specific and the frame was designed for it. But 3.5-inch quads and tiny whoops that are pushers are designed with that exact thing in mind. So I think Brock Grinder jumped in. What's up, bot? It says it's blocking him from watching the live, but he's here in spirit. I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. I was just like, I should have talked crap about you earlier. I was saying nice things. I should have just totally slandered you because you can't hear me. You still can't hear me. I could slander him now. Yeah. Can I get a channel unstable? Yeah. It becomes unstable when you do a pusher on bigger things. For sure. For sure. Right on axis is best for center of gravity. Yep. Moist. Yo, it's baby drone Jesus himself. In spirit, he said. Well, I guess that would be true. Yeah. Hush your mouth. Is Quadmula shipping the Djinn already? I don't know about shipping. I know they released it last week, so I assume they wouldn't have released it if they weren't shipping. And since they only currently sell from their webpage, let me see. Let me see. I can check that. I just talked myself through how to figure it out. Hold on. Because I am, like I said before, not a sponsored pilot from them, so I am not privy to those things. They just send me their stuff because, for some reason they like me over there, and they like me to play with their things. It says you can add it to cart on their website. As far as shipping timelines, I don't know, but it doesn't appear to be out of stock or like pre-order. So I would assume that's a yes. They are shipping, says Murders. Murders would know. Murders would know. If you guys haven't watched Murders, he's cool. He's been around for a long time. I remember the first Murders video I watched, and now I watch his stuff now, and the way he has grown as a pilot over the last 2 years is immense. And Murders he's been to 2 of the Rotor Riot Rampages since I've known him, and I've been to 0. So that tells you a little bit of something about how much better of a pilot he is. I've been to none. I've been to nuns of them. Dioki, congrats on the channel. Thanks. What about the Flyfish Volador 3.5? The Flyfish Volador 3.5 is a good frame, and the Volador 5 is a good frame. They're just heavy. They're just heavy frames. The Grinderino is a heavy frame. It's a bashing frame. but the Volador is a heavier frame. It is a brick. She chonky. But you can build it and it will fly and it will be good. And a lot of people really enjoy it. It's just depending on what you want. If you want a fast, snappy quad, it can be done on a Volador 3.5. It will just be harder to get there. If you want a fast, snappy quad on something like an AOS 3.5, it will be a little bit easier because it's lighter. So you can get more response out of it without having to put a whole bunch of work into balancing out the parts list. But the Volador is a good frame. I have not heard any complaints about it, really. Other than the chonkiness, that's the only thing. A lot of people really swear by them. Murder says they're overly complicated to build. I haven't built one, so I can't vouch for that. But if he says so, then maybe that's the case. Someday I'll try one. I don't have the funds to buy every frame. He says durable though as well, which I believe to be the case from what people have told me about them. For quad's sake, Phoenix FPV is the god of freestyle and probably MCK racing. MCK is a terrific racer. I have done some tiny whoop racing, but I have not done any 5-inch racing, and that dude is insane. I watch him race, and I'm like, if I had that kind of reaction time. For freestyle, though, I'll tell you who one of my favorite freestyle, I won't say my absolute favorite because I have a lot of favorites, but someone I really enjoy watching fly is Vitterfly, just the way he flies. He's low to the ground, proxy, Spang. And it's not for everybody. Some people don't like the way Spang looks when you fly because it's all twitchy and movie and spinny. And it's not it doesn't feel controlled, but that's exactly why I like it, because I know it's really hard to stay in control and do that without whacking everything or winding up in places you didn't expect. It's really more for me, it's impressive the amount of control during a flight. I like to watch ones that are impressively controlled, and his just are. So he's currently one of my favorites. Well, it is. I didn't realize it's after 4 o'clock. It's almost dinner time around here. We do dinner early. My wife is probably in there preparing dinner for our children. I don't know what we're having today. I forgot to ask her what we're having. We had chili last week. Now I don't know if I should be excited or not. Should I be excited if she's still in? Chow FB says, it's controlled chaos. Yes, it is. Chow is a controlled chaos pilot as well. I like the controlled chaos. It's what's in my brain all the time, so it comes out that way. But yeah, I'm probably going to wrap this live stream up in a second. So if you guys got any last-minute questions, throw them in here. I'll answer them real fast. And then, yeah, a few more minutes and we'll be out because I'm sure she's cooking something exciting in there. I should be excited for it. And, honestly, even if it's not something exciting, I'm going to be excited for it because she cooked it. Because she's listening right now. So yeah, get your last minute questions in. I'm gonna start putting this Djinn away. There, we're done. I put it away. It was that fast. I need to start making more hangers though. Hang on my wall. I gotta hang this one. I gotta hang that one. I gotta move some stuff around. You guys can't see them all, but they're all up there. And there's an entire 10-foot wall filled with quads. And somehow I pointed the camera at the only spot that barely had any. It lined up that way. But thank you, Twisted. You're awesome too, buddy. I appreciate you. Hush your mouth. Quick off the top 2.5-inch build. Well, you said quick and off the top. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're doing with it. That's my first question about every build. What are you doing with it? Do you intend to freestyle it? Do you intend to race it? What do you want out of your quad? Are you a flippity-floppity pilot? Are you a smooth line pilot? That kind of stuff. Because it will make a difference. Because if you were a flippity-floppity pilot, you're going to want a different build out than someone who is a smooth line pilot that wants fling. And if you're cinematic, we're going to go to all kinds of different ground than if we're talking about flippy-flop freestyle. If I had to just build one, though, freestyle, he says, okay, 1202.5 motors, or you can go get the 13 millimeter motors from FPV Cycle if you can find them in stock. If not, I get the RC Power 1202.5s. I would do, let's see, 2.5-inch. If you want to do 2S, let me look at something. I have to figure out what KV specs they are. 1202.5. RCM Power 1202.5, 6,000 kV, 11,000 kV. You do the 6,000 kV on 2S. Yeah, 6,000 kV on 2S, 1102.5. I would get the Emax Avian props for it. And the frame, I mean, you can do the Djinn. I don't know if it has 9mm mounts. Hold on. I think these might be a little small for the Djinn because the Djinn's designed for 03. 1202.5 would probably be a little undersized. 1404 for the Djinn would be undersized. Yeah. And they're 8mm screws. So that's 9x9. 4-hole 9x9. You can mount these 1202.5s on the Djinn. Okay. But for a lightweight 2.5 inch, I would go 1202.5s. 6,000 kV. I might put a Darwin AIO with the ELRS built in, the 15 amp AIO with the ELRS built in it. I would probably put a Walksnail 1S board in it and run it off a regulator. What else? Yep, that's what I do. Somewhere in there. But for the Djinn, if you're going something like bigger, honkier for 2.5 inch, 1404 motors, I'm going to be running 3,000 kV, but 2,800 kV would probably be okay for 1404s in a 2.5 inch prop. And then I would run a full size 20x20 stack, and I would do a stack, not an AIO, and I'd probably pick the SpeedyBee, and then you can put whatever VTX you want in it. So yeah, that's it. You said quick. That wasn't quick, but that's my rundown. That's my rundown. All right. That's going to wrap it up. It's 4:11. I'm 11 minutes over. It doesn't matter being over. It's okay. I'm just getting I'm getting sore-throated now. I probably shouldn't have said that live on a stream. I've been talking for too long, and it's wearing on my innards. So I'm gonna go rest my knee. I'm gonna go rest my throat, and we're gonna be done. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you all being here. We've had a really good time. I will continue to build the Djinn. Maybe I'll do some of it on a live stream. I'm gonna try to keep these live streams going every Sunday at 2. I think it's a good time. I have to. When does Joshua Barbell stream? Because I don't want to. Oh, I clicked the button. When does he stream? I haven't seen his streams in a while. I think he streams at 1, but then he goes for 2 hours. Oh no, I might move it around, but I will find a place on Sunday to stream because I like doing this. And I will try to invite some people. I think I'm going to try to get a couple of guests on. We'll talk about some different things that we don't usually talk about on the channel. And we'll do some more builds because I think they're a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks everybody. I appreciate you being here. Until next time, stay greasy. I'll catch you later.